The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, Caleb, you can kick it off.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. This is Caleb Daig. I'm an account executive with FayeBSGs Group. Today we're joined by Matthew Merrim with Sugar CRM as well. Today's webinar is going to be our Sugar Integrate Best Practices Series Part 2. Part 2 to previous part that we had a couple weeks ago. You can go to the next slide, Matt. So real quick about FayeBSGs Group. So we have about 25 plus years of experience, over 500 clients today. We're a Sugar Elite partner. We were the Global Partner of the Year in 2020. Our corporate headquarters is in Southern California, just outside of LA, but we do have offices across the country and across the world. In Chicago, Dallas, Philadelphia, Miami, and then in Europe and South America. Our main focus is on CRM, CX, but we do also have an ERP side of the business where we resell Sage and a couple others. But we've done, again, hundreds of CRM, accounting, ERP implementations. You can go to the next slide, Matt. So this is just a slide that kind of talks about, why we love working with sugar. So we've kind of built a business around it. So here are some of the popular integrations that we've done and enhancements that we've done. So just to talk about a couple, we have our Splash gamification platform, which allows you to set up different challenges and goals for your sales reps or your support reps to meet within Sugar. So really gets them excited to use it. It helps to drive user adoption. We have our Sugar messaging product, which allows you to send text messages out of Sugar, which we've partnered with Ytel and Twilio. And we've enhanced the Sugar mobile app to include some geo mapping functionality for reps that are out on the road a lot and might want to, find other accounts that are within a specific mile radius of where they're currently at. So again, these are just a couple of the integrations enhancements that we have. We're continuing to add more of these. If there is any interest in seeing these live on a demo, you can feel free to reach back out to us. But with that, enough about FayeBSGs Group. I'll pass it over to Matt to talk through Sugar Integrate.
Great, thank you, Caleb. So, all right, Sugar Integrate. So this, I think last time, Rod Martinez, my colleague from Sugar CRM, gave you kind of an overview of why Sugar Integrate, essentially why integrations are so important and why Sugar Integrate was, such an essential new product that we've added to the Sugar catalog, and why we think it's kind of the right choice for you as a platform for building new integrations. I think in today's presentation, I wanted to talk to you a bit about, okay, how does Sugar Integrate work, and what are some of the best practices for doing, an integration build on top of Sugar Integrate. So first and foremost, what Sugar Integrate provides is a platform. It's an iPaaS. So what does that mean? It's an integration platform as a service. So it's a platform for building integrations. And one of the really great things about Sugar Integrate is that it is API centric. And why is that great? Is because, all these new cloud applications, there's literally, thousands of different applications out there that people use, in particular in sort of the marketing technology space. I'm sure you've all seen the MarTech advisors graphic with thousands and thousands of apps there. All those new sort of cloud-based or SaaS applications, they all provide APIs. That's kind of the integration currency of in the SaaS world. And Sugar Integrate is really an API-centric integration platform. In fact, the way Sugar Integrate connects to our the rest of the Sugar products is just via REST API. For those of you who are familiar with some of the technologies, so that's how Sugar Integrate connects to our Sugar products, but it's also sort of the same way it connects to all those different applications. So essentially anything with an API Sugar Integrate can connect to. So let's break down a little bit what are sort of the key building blocks that make up an integration, right? So I know not everybody on the call is a developer, or maybe you don't have deep subject matter expertise on integration. But let me break it down for you just conceptually so that we can talk about the different components, right? So if you were planning to build an integration, the first step is you got to figure out, well, what applications am I really trying to connect, right? So you've got Sugar Cell. Let's say you've got customer data sitting in MailChimp, right? And you want to be able to synchronize some of that customer data into Sugar Cell. So that would be sort of the core building block, is where you need that connectivity, and that's where adapters comes in. And I'll explain more about adapters later, but you got to identify, when you're building an integration, obviously you got to identify what are the apps you want to connect and what resources on those apps you want to connect. You want to connect the users your leads in MailChimp with your leads in Sugar Cell. Are you trying to connect the emails, copy the emails that you're sending from MailChimp into Sugar Cell? You got to identify what resources you're trying to connect. And then you've got to figure out how you're going to transform the data. The way MailChimp or any other application chooses to represent data is going to just be in a different format than how it is represented in a Sugar product. So there needs to be some sort of transformation or mapping where you decide how that data is going to get represented when you copy information or flow information from one app to another. And so that's where common resources come in. And then finally, you have you got to decide, well, what's essentially the use case? What's the procedure? What's the process that you want the integration to follow? Is it something that, hey, every night I want to copy information out of MailChimp, or is it a real-time event-driven process where, hey, when a new potential customer subscribes to my newsletter, I want to get kick off a process that puts that lead to Sugar Cell, or sends a message to Slack to my BDR team, whatever, right? So those are the three kind of building blocks of an integration, and those are covered by adapters, common resources, and procedures. So let's dig a little bit into what each of those are in a little more detail. So adapters, these are pre-built connections to hundreds of third-party applications. So when you open up the tool as a developer, you see like just a sea of applications that you can easily build integrations with. And part of the reason why we use the term adapter, some tools like this will use the term connector, is that it normalizes and enhances the native API. So what is that? What are we trying to say? As a developer, like every application out there that has an API, somebody's gone off and decided how to implement that API in their own way. So they're all like snowflakes. So there's a lot of work in learning and understanding all the individual APIs that you might want to connect to. What's awesome about Sugar Integrate, and what's great about, and really what adapters do, is that all those changes, they're sort of smoothed over. Every app that you work with, via an adapter within Sugar Integrate, it essentially has the same sort of feature set. If there is some features missing in the underlying application that you want to connect to, it'll sort of smooth those things over. It'll enhance the API, add some features, simulate some things. So it makes it really, really convenient, so that, like, hey, if I build an integration with Slack today and I want to adapt it to work with MS Teams tomorrow or whatever else, the day after, it's really easy. And of course, this existing catalog of adapters, it kind of evolves and changes. There's more adapters added every quarter, but it's important to keep in mind, if there isn't a product in the catalog, it's not game over, right? There's this tool called Adapter Builder, which allows you to build new connections to new apps. So if you've got, if there's an app that isn't in the catalog, you can build it, a new adapter to it, using Sugar Integrate. If you've got some sort of internal application that doesn't have a public API, well, you can use Adapter Builder to connect to it. So you can use Sugar Integrate to build those integrations. So Adapter Builder essentially means that if there's an API, Sugar Integrate can work with it. So common resources, this is what provides that mapping or transformation layer. And common resources is really cool because essentially the way we thought about how to do that mapping. So like I took that example up front where you're talking about MailChimp and Sugar Cell, right? And so you've got to figure out, well, what's the name field on a person that's, record that's sitting in MailChimp, and what's the name field I want to map it to in Sugar Cell. So that would be a point-to-point mapping. Now let's imagine that you want to build a much more complex integration. Well, today I'm using MailChimp, but tomorrow I might want to use Sugar Market, or maybe I want to use a different survey tool, or I've got 5 or 6 different marketing technology applications that all have some sort of lead concept that I need to interconnect. Imagine trying to build all those different point-to-point, mappings for all those applications. It's impossible. As we say in engineering, it doesn't scale, right? There's no way you could do it. So that's where the common resource comes in, is that it allows a developer or a business really to just say, listen, this is how I want to represent a lead across all these different systems. And it allows you as a developer or even an organization to decide, well, listen, this is the key information that we need to have, and it allows this is the way we want to represent a lead across all these different systems. This is all like kind of the core information we need, and then this mapping, this common resource framework makes it really easy to build interoperable integrations, so that if you're flowing, today you were flowing data into from Sugar Cell or into MailChimp, tomorrow it could be into a different system, and you don't have to rewrite anything. You're just working from a common resource. So it really really allows you to build something that's interoperable with new technology as your needs evolve. And then finally, there's this idea of a procedure. So a procedure is really kind of the it's definitely the most code heavy part of Sugar Integrate. But really this defines that integration process. You can kind of think of it like Sugar BPM if you're familiar with that. So this is where you can decide, well, that data needs to move on a nightly basis, or maybe there's a process that needs to kick off when a sales opportunity, when an opportunity in Sugar Cell closes. I need to create the order in my ERP system. I need to create a new Slack channel and invite people to it as a collaboration space. I need to send an email to somebody. I need to create tasks in my project management tool. That full sort of complex process that touches multiple apps, that's exactly what procedures can do too, right? It can do sort of simple point-to-point stuff, but it's really great for doing those sort of complex multi-step, multi-stage processes. And the way you define a procedure, you build them in a way that's allows them to be reused. Again, like common resources are by design reusable. A procedure is also can be reused, so that you're basically writing it in sort of an abstract. You define it your process in an abstract way, such that you can reuse it over and over again, sort of for similar use cases, or if or for different customers or what have you. So all right, so those are the kind of the core pieces of building an integration. You're ready to get dirty and build a new integration. So what should you do first, though, from a planning perspective? What are some best practices around planning? So first off, when you're planning your integration, I would encourage you, and what really helps sort of get the most value out of Sugar Integrate is when you think about real-time or event-driven integrations. There is sort of there is an approach to integration where it's batch processes. Something runs every night that copies a bunch of data from one system to another. That's of course useful. It makes sure that all all the systems are kind of kept in sync. But what really provides a lot of value is when you're kind of automating processes that might have been manual before, right? Like I think the example I gave about, hey, an order, an opportunity closes or a quote is accepted, having that order process kick off automatically, having the right gears put into motion. That's valuable. That saves a lot of time. So that's I think a good way to think about how you would a bias, let's say, that you should use if you're thinking about building an integration on Sugar Integrate. Of course, I think it's true of any project, like good requirements make a solid foundation for any project work, in particular an integration project. There's a sort of a saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have good, if you haven't really defined your goals and you don't really haven't really defined what you want in a really clear manner, then it's going to be essentially impossible to build something that's going to satisfy anybody on the far end of the project. So, it happens all the time where, the goals weren't clear enough, the requirements weren't clear enough, such that it's not really a technology fail. The project fails not because the technology was bad, but just because it didn't actually do what was needed, right? The integration didn't do what was needed. So one of the things and I think Faye can help you with that, right? Is making sure you've got good requirements, you've defined very clearly what you want your integration to do, and Faye obviously has tons of experience doing that. Also, planning your integrations, you should expect some evolving needs and growth, right? Today, you want an integration between Sugar and some other system, but that system that you want to connect to today might change in the future, right? I remember it was only a couple of years ago we were all using GoToMeeting or WebEx, and now it's all about Zoom. And then Google's giving away Meet, and then you got MS Teams. Like you don't know what the future holds in terms of applications. And so I think it's a good orientation to just keep that in mind, that the end application that you're using today might be different in the future. You also you've got a need to integrate with one system today. I don't know what happens when you add another system. Plan for that growth ahead of time, so that you're not cornering yourself. Finally, all right, now you're actually implementing your integration. You got a great plan, you got a great project. Just remember, first off, if there's an API, there's a way. So if you run into a block like, hey, I don't know where, if there's a resource that's missing on an adapter, you're not sure what to do, or you've just discovered that there's this other API you need to connect to. Remember, you got tools like Adapter Builder that allows you to connect to essentially anything. So as you're implementing implemented project, keep in mind, like, as long as there's an API, you can connect to it using Sugar Integrate. Another kind of cool thing that I think that I think is really good for you guys to know is that connecting to sandboxes. If you're using Sugar Integrate, you purchase it to, like, say, do that integration with MailChimp, right, or whatever. That for that one price, for that one connection, you can connect it to as many sandboxes as you want. So if you've got like 5 different Sugar sandboxes, you can connect all 5 of those to your one external system. So that's obviously really useful when you're doing these integration projects, because you can test in a sandbox, which you should be doing, but it means you can do that at no additional cost, right? So that's great. And then finally, when you're implementing your integrations, if you're trying to do it yourself, just keep in mind there's a community of people that can help. We have a special space out on the Sugar community specifically for Integrate. We've got tons of experienced people in the community, like the folks at Faye, that can help answer questions. They're out on the community all the time. I'm out there all the time. So there's you never really you never have to feel like you're going at it alone. There's a lot you can leverage, kind of the collective experience of the community. So last thing I just want to mention, there's a bunch of different solutions that Sugar Integrate supports today. There's Sugar, it actually supports our on-premise products, the Sugar Professional and Enterprise, as well as Sell and Serve. So that's available today. We're planning on supporting Sugar Market in the future, so you can watch out for that. we also, for those folks that are on-prem that have Sugar deployed behind a firewall, we have a piece of technology that will still allow Sugar Integrate running in the cloud to be able to connect to your application. So we've got options, and it's available worldwide. So that's kind of it. So is there any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. That was great. There was a lot of really helpful information in about 20 minutes or so. So everyone will be getting the recording, so we can go back and take a look at that again. We actually did have one question. So one question came in, and they were just curious, why they would want to use or why they should use, Sugar Integrate over another tool, like Zapier.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good question. So I think first off, I think Zapier is a cool tool. There's a lot of people. It kind of has its own niche. It sort of works. It makes it easy for somebody that isn't really technical to build something really simple, build like a really simple integration or automate a really simple process. I think clearly what you get from Sugar Integrate is a really powerful platform, is really flexible. So I think there's some differentiation there. In general, there's probably 30 different iPaaS platforms that integrate with Sugar. And one of the, obviously only one iPaaS platform out there is actually supported by Sugar in terms of like we provide kind of that single point of contact when hey, you need help, right? If an integration goes down, you're able to work with the same Sugar support team that you already trust for your other sort of needs. You also the quality of the connectors that we've built, right? When other iPaaS build connectors to the Sugar products, they're not built by the Sugar engineering team, right? So in this case, we've designed and sort of built the connectors, or what we call the adapters, to the Sugar products with all of like the integration needs that we know our customers have in mind. And so that's huge, like the quality of the connectors. And it's also new features and things like that will be supported. When we launch a new feature, when we add Sugar Market support, Sugar Market isn't supported by any other iPaaS out there, period, right? So Sugar Integrate is going to be the first iPaaS solution that supports Sugar Market, right? So I think for your Sugar CRM integration needs, like the choice is pretty, we have a pretty compelling offering here, and it's meant to be that way because we really see it as a way to standardize how people build integrations to Sugar products and how people integrate in our ecosystem to really make it a lot easier. So that's my long-winded answer.
Great. That was great. Thanks, Matt. Last question that we had was, how does Sugar Integrate's pricing work?
I'll let one of my colleagues. I'm a product management, so I don't talk pricing. So I don't know if Rod or I guess somebody else want to take a swing at that.
Did we lose?
I think we lost Rod. So I'll give you the quick overview. So the way the pricing works. The catalog of adapters are sort of broken out by tier. So there's sort of a basic, advanced, and enterprise tier. And basically, you were purchasing basically you have an annual fee for each integration that you purchase, and each integration being like, hey, that integration to MailChimp or that integration to FreshBooks or whatever. Each one of those requires one license, and it's priced at that tier. And at the low tier, like at the basic tier, is like $2,400 a year, or in other words, like $200 a month to have that integration. And it's really just priced at how the number of integrations that you use. And it actually, the price doesn't change based on complexity. So if you want to integrate multiple different objects or resources across these two, across Sugar and your finance system or whatever, then the price doesn't change. So obviously you get more value when you more deeply integrate sort of the two systems. But yeah, in short, it's you price based on the number of integrations that you need, and that's it.
Got it. Okay. Great. Thanks, Matt. So I think that's all the questions that we have for today. Again, thanks, Matt, for joining us. We will be sending out the recording to everyone that's on the call. So again, feel free to reach back out to us if there are any other questions on anything we covered today. But thanks again for everyone's time, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Bye.